Hey, Redcasters, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Go Big Red. Let's move on to the defense, everyone, here. So this is the second half. We went through the offense. This is going to be defense, and Boomer even gets his slide. We get special teams at the very end. Defensive line, roster. We got to start at the top here. Nash, Hutmacher, and everyone saw the polar bear ad from, I think, SOS. That was outstanding. That's what NIL is all about.
Yes, it is.
But the Hutmacher, the polar bear, 6'4", 330. Ty Robinson, a junior. Again, I think he's in his 8th year, but he's a junior. These COVID years are screwing everything up. 6'6", 310. Raquan Buckley, sophomore, 6'6", 295. That guy's put on some good weight here this offseason. We get Blaze Gunnerson moving to the D-line from being an outside linebacker. So 6'6", 265. Elijah Judy, 6'3", 280. I'll finish up the rest of this left column here. Kai Wallen, the sophomore, the junior college transfer, 6'5", 250. And then A.J. Rollins, tight end convert, sophomore, 6'5", 245. Let's just hang out in that left side of the roster there. I'll start with Dave. When you see that left side there, what are your thoughts? What jumps off the page as we are jumping to this 3-3-5?
Yeah, a couple things. One, Nash and Ty, a lot of playing experience there, and I think some flashes of potential, especially with Nash. Hutmacher, he can be more consistent on a play-to-play basis going forward. That's going to be a game changer. But I'd like to see. I mean, some of these young guys that we've been hearing about for so long, like Blaze Gunnerson or Raquan Buckley, if they flash, that's going to be a game changer, right? It's a lot of unknown because of the 3-3-5 and how these guys fit into that and all that type of stuff, So I'll try to be optimistic here and think that these guys can hold their own.
Mm-hmm. Mike, I'll go to you here. Do you have give me your 1 deep, and then let's see if we can figure out the 2 deep after that. So who's your first 3 here?
I guess my first 3 would be Nash, Ty, and Blaze. I think those are the guys that have been you've seen them in the media the most. Those are the guys that have the most reps. Even Blaze at the end of the year last year, he got a lot of reps at the end of the year. And so I think experience is the most important thing when it comes to the trenches in the Big Ten. And those guys have it. It's just going to be is Nash can be able to play more than 3 snaps. That's one question I want to know. You're rocking a 6'4", 330 body. Can he play more snaps? Is the conditioning going to finally settle in for a guy like him? Ty Robinson. Ty's a guy that is a very dominant guy, but if Nash doesn't hold his end of the deal or Blaze doesn't hold up his end of the deal, it's really easy to double Ty and you're good. So we need Ty to step up. Those are my 3 guys though for the 1 deep there.
And I think that's a great point you make about Nash being able to play multiple plays. That was the knock on Damian Daniels a few years ago. Daniels was amazing for 3 plays at a time, but you couldn't count on him to be out there for a series. And when he was out there for a series, his senior year, the 2021 team, he was a difference maker in a 3-4. Because really, this is not a traditional, this isn't nose tackle, DN. This is kind of nose tackles, Nash. Robinson's kind of like a 5 technique D tackle. And then you're throwing out Blaze Gunnerson as a true D end hand in the turf. But then really it's the 4th man on the line isn't coming from this group. It's coming from that jack or that outside linebacker who might be a Sherman or Butler, one of the guys that we're going to be talking about on the next slide. So it's different. It's different from, the 1990s that you had a nose tackle, D tackle, and then you had 2 defensive ends. It's not like that. So trying to kind of get that right mix. Is Gunnerson big enough? I've heard that was the one concern that they've had, that one practice observer had. Dave, you're shaking your head here. Is Gunnerson even at 265? Is that big enough? Is that someone that can handle a Big Ten season at the end?
Yeah, I mean, you just look at the numbers there. You're comparing, if he's one of your top 3, and you got Nash at 330 and Robinson at 310. What doesn't fit? It's Gunnerson at 265, right? I mean, you got to be concerned a little bit about depth there. But again, I think the 3-3-5 is where it's a little confusing on how much depth you need here compared to your other positions in the next level. But yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to compare Blaze Gunnerson to one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, but I will say Nick Bosa, who is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, is only 6'4", 267. So I think if you're a guy who can get off blocks, you're a guy who can get off blocks. I don't think it really matters if you're carrying a 300-pound frame. It's just going to be, do you have the ability to get off the guys that are grabbing you. If they're bigger than you, obviously those O-line are going to be bigger than I'd hope 6'6", 265. But
anybody but Colorado.
Yeah. Well, Colorado, that's 230.
Yeah, no,
if they're lucky.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, I get where you're coming from. Maybe from the run defense side. The question is Gunderson on the edge or is he inside, right? You know, how are you actually playing this 3-3-5?
Yeah, that is a big question mark.
And, you know, if you have two big guys, if Hutmacher and Robinson are on the field and you have two 300-pound guys on the field, how the hell is that any different than the 4-man fronts that we ran all those years where you had two 300-pound guys on the field and your DNs were 260?
Yes.
You know,
yep.
Trev Alberts goes from an outside linebacker to a DN, wins the butt kiss, which I'll argue he never should have won the butt kiss. He should have won the Lombardi, which Grant Wistrom won 3 years later playing the exact same position. But the point is he was a 240-pound DN. And I know different times and all that, but even, you know, to your point with Bosa, and you're not seeing 300-pound defensive ends in a 4-3. What you're seeing is two big guys in the middle. You're seeing two DNs that are typically somewhere between 240 and 270, any kind of variation in between there. You're definitely seeing size and you're seeing length out of these guys. Gunderson at 6'6", and a lot of this when you're playing pass rush, at least the concerns that Dave has about the run game and standing up against the run, that's legit.
That's real.
When you're playing pass rush, having that length like a boxer, being 6'6" like Gunderson is, you know, that can play a role there. Jared, let's talk about that second tier then. So we've already gone through that. I mean, you're looking at, is there anybody from the right side of this lineup that fits into the second tier?
Into the second tier?
Yeah, the second three.
I would say, like, right now, you hear a lot about Princewell.
Yep.
Unmamalin. You also hear about Lenhart a lot. When I look at games, when I look at conference games, I ask myself, which team has the best trenches, right? O-line, D-line, right? But I look at this room and I look on the right side and I'm like, you know what? 2 years, I can see this being a strength of the Nebraska football team. And that is something that we have not been able to say for a long time.
Development.
And rules defenses are known for being like, get after you and being salty. And I think you see a few of these guys and it's like, okay, at least from what we hear, of course, haven't seen them play, but some of these guys on that list, and they're going to play this year that I just mentioned them. And I think in a year or two, this is going to be a room where you're like, I like this room a lot.
Well, speaking of what we hear, I did a terrible job for the people that are listening to this show tomorrow. On the right side, it's Brody Tagliafico, the redshirt freshman who is out this season. Yep. Vincent Carroll Jackson, freshman, 6'5", 270. Sua Lafutu, freshman, 6'3", 300. Cameron Lenhart, as Jared mentioned, freshman, 6'3", 250. And he's up about 15 pounds. Been here all offseason. Jason, I'm just going to
Majayshak.
Jason, I'm going to destroy the next two one. But Majayshak, freshman, 6'2", 320 from South Dakota. And, you know, really, South Dakota kids, Dave and Rob and Mike or Boomer will remember this. When Nash Hutmacher first committed, he was still like a junior in high school, and I was calling him Hash Nutmacher. I just could not remember his name to save my life. So it's something about South Dakota guys. Princewell Umana-Malin. Did I say that right?
That'll do. That'll do.
6'4", 240. And then the last one's Riley Van Poppel.
Another guy.
6'5", 275. And I think he's one of the guys that you guys are talking about that wait a couple years. But I really think that when we talk about that second tier, Elijah Judy, the A&M transfer, he actually went the opposite direction. Instead of gaining weight, he was 300 pounds. He's down to 280. And I know you guys have had Damon Benning on this offseason. We talked with him last year. And there's one thing about Lyman getting so big and not being mobile enough. And this is what we're hoping we see out of Nash, is that I want to see Nash be a guy that can get into the backfield and not just take up blockers, but actually beat a blocker, get in the backfield, make a play in the backfield. And I think Judy is a guy that, he's down to a weight of 280. And then I'm very interested to see Rollins. I think Rollins and Buckley's the other guy. Ruquan Buckley up at 295 in his third year here. That's kind of the three guys I think that you're going to see. Rollins, Judy, and Buckley really fit into that third tier. If one of those freshmen, if Lenhart or if Umana-Malin does, they had good spring games. If they do, that's gravy. If they can work their way into a second tier. But I feel good that we have about 6 guys, a 2 deep, that doesn't even reach into the freshmen.
Yeah, and ideally, you don't want true freshmen playing on the lines if you can help it.
Yeah.
But I think Rule, he recruited those guys, and I think he really believes in them. But yeah, I just wish we would have heard Elijah Judy's name a little more. Like, I feel like we haven't heard anything about him yet. He's from A&M. It's like, okay, maybe there's something there, right? Every time a player comes from a big name school, it's like, oh, maybe Kane Williams is coming from Ohio State. Oh, but AJ Rollins, looked good in the spring game, of course.
Well, and that's where Judy looked a little good. He looked good in the spring game. I think the big thing, I don't care what position group we're talking about right now, what we're talking about are guys that have been here since at least January. When Rule says he wants a developmental program in 2023, what that looks like to me at least is not starting the guy that just transferred here from Texas Tech, like Devin Drew a year ago, that gets here right about now,
right,
in August,
right?
Or Stephen Wynn, who gets here from Alabama, and he gets here from the big school, but he gets here in June, or even Mathis last year, O'Shawn gets here in June or July, and he's going to be our stud. He hasn't even practiced, at least with Judy, at least with these guys. We're talking about guys that we've seen play in Memorial Stadium in front of 50, 60,000 people, and that's a good place to start from him.
And just real quick, this is Rule's first year, and I think he's going to want to have the tendency to play younger guys. I think he's going to just have that want to kind of just throw his guys out there and look, it's year one. Let's go.
Well, Jared, in literally every press conference, Rob, he has mentioned
he knows.
He has mentioned that, like, his defense, he wants that to be like a hockey shift, like rotating guys in and out, in and out, in and out. He wants like 3 different groups to be able to just all game long, just having guys rotating and coming in that are fresh and, ready to go the whole game. Right. So you're going to have to imagine that some of these guys are going to have to step up, at least some of the freshmen, in order to kind of to go with that like hockey shift mentality.